Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, December 7th meeting of the Chicopee School Committee. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence will be observed for all those who serve in the military and for those who help to protect us. We'll take that moment of silence now. Thank you. And I'd also like a moment of silence. Today is a historical day for this country, Pearl Harbor Day, the start of World War II, and all those who perished and lost their lives at Pearl Harbor. We'll take a moment of silence for that as well. Thank you. Sarah, can I have a roll call?
Mayor View?
Here.
Mr. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Barcelow? Mr. Doubt?
Here.
Mrs. Perrette?
Present.
Mrs. Schofield?
Here.
Mr. Shumsky?
Here.
Mr. Lamoth?
Here.
Mr. Gerard?
Here.
Mr. Bernard?
Here.
Mrs. Lopes? Mr. Zatella? 9 present, 3 absent.
Thank you. In compliance with open meeting laws, I'd also like to announce that this meeting is being recorded and is currently live broadcast and will be future broadcast on our public access television. Chairperson, we have public announcements by committee members. I can start to my left. Does anyone have any announcements?
I'm all set.
To my right, any public announcements? Sandra.
Just yesterday evening on the City Council agenda was an item with reference to the purchase of 350 Memorial Drive for school purposes, and the motion was to send this discussion to Finance Subcommittee separate and the Education Subcommittee separate for discussion, which was approved by the City Council. And also just to share with everyone that there was correspondence that was delivered to each of the city councilors from public consumers' question to the federal grants program officer at DESE with regards to the written application on file for the purchase from our district of the 350 of a building for approval with the use of ESSER funds, and the letter is dated approximately 2.5 weeks ago, November 18th, and the state reported to the constituent that on file there is no information regarding a purchase of a building using ESSER funds for the city of Chicopee at this moment in time. And that information was distributed to the city councilors by the public.
Thank you. Any other public announcements? Public announcements by our superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, I'd like to recognize Taylor Stakewicz. She's receiving the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics. The Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching are the highest honors bestowed by the United States government, specifically for K-12 science, technology, engineering, and mathematics teaching. The awards were established in Congress in 1983. The President may recognize up to 108 exemplary teachers each year. Awardees reflect the expertise and dedication of the nation's teaching corps, and they demonstrate the positive impact of excellent teachers on student achievement. The National Science Foundation administers the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics on behalf of the White House of Science and Technology Policy. Mrs. Taylor Stakewicz, a grade 7 and 8 science teacher from Edward Bellamy Middle School, has been nominated for this prestigious award. Ms. Stakewicz demonstrates both deep content knowledge of the subject matter she teaches, as well as an ability to motivate, inspire, and enable students to be successful in those areas. She is a member of the DESE Science and Tech Engineering 5th Grade Assessment Development Committee, a member of the Chicopee District-wide Science Committee, a 2022 Pioneer Valley Excellence in Teaching Award recipient, and has been teaching science at Bellamy since 2016. The Chicopee Public Schools would like to congratulate Ms. Takewitz on her nomination and say thank you for her positive impact she has had on our students and their families.
Thank you.
And I also would like to just announce on Saturday, well, I think it's actually Sunday, December the 11th, Chicopee High versus Chicopee Comp basketball game will transpire for both boys and girls at the UMass Mullins Center. Tickets are available at the door for adults $7, students $5, courtside is $15. The girls' games will be at 1:45 p.m. and the boys' game will transpire at 3:30 p.m. I think it's a great opportunity for both our student athletes and our students to experience the college campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Interim Superintendent. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to introduce the new member of the school committee, Jason Doubt. Welcome. He now represents Ward 3, and I just want to say congratulations to you. He interviewed last week with the committee of the whole. There were 3 well-qualified candidates from Ward 3 that were interested in the seat, and Jason was chosen to serve out the rest of the term of Salo DePaulo. Salo, we wish you the best in your future endeavors, and thank you for your service here in the city of Chicopee. And Jason, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Doug Girard, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to recognize Jason, but you beat me to the punch, so welcome aboard, Jason.
Thank you. Open to public input. We have one person signed up for public input. Speakers shall properly identify themselves with their name and address. Public input sessions are limited to 30 minutes, 3 minutes for individual speakers. And character assassinations and derogatory attacks will not be tolerated. We have Lisa Bienvenue. Lisa, welcome.
Hi, Lisa Bienvenue, 34 Everett Street. I think that's great about the teacher, Taylor Stakewitz. Oh, that's excellent. Oh, man, that is really such a positive thing to hear. And I also think it's good for the students to be at from CHS and CCHS to be playing at the Mullins Center. It's kind of a nice thing for them. I'm just here, I wanted to say something about safety. It's been on the news about the sword game. The mayor talked about the sword game last night at during the mayor's briefing at the city council. And it struck me a few things. I know you guys had a meeting last week, but that escalation, because there was a problem at a comp game in October, and then it was an escalated incident at the Chicopee High, Chicopee comp game on Thanksgiving, is concerning. And I know that you guys are doing something about it, and I'm sure we all want to hear more about it, but not hear from the Springfield athletic director on the news, because that's who was spoken to about how they handle games at Central, which is, big time football, which is kind of exciting that they don't have those issues. But it really struck me is that we're talking about these incidents that are happening. We need to be proactive. And right now, we're in a state where we are reactive, where the city is reacting to incidents that have occurred, which we have to do. But we really need to be proactive to get in front of this. And I know last night the mayor talked about, things that are on the table and the decisions haven't been made. We really have to err on the side of being more cautious. And the children now are in a different world than when we were children. And as much as, it's probably hard for those of us who are a little older to, admit that the world has changed that much, but it has. And I think what really brings it home is that it's the 10-year anniversary of Sandy Hook. Now, when Sandy Hook occurred in 2012, I don't think anybody could believe that someone could go into a school and kill babies, because they were little children. These were kindergartners. They were babies. That changed the world. It was very close. And just like 9/11 changed how we think about things, Sandy Hook should change how we approach things and say, you know, we'd like to believe that it's never going to happen, but it has. And we have to think about that with these children and how they're going, what's happening at games, because it is speaking to the social, emotional development of these children. And we don't know how much it's been exasperated by the pandemic. And I don't care how much money we spend on this, you get the feeling it's not going to be enough. So I really hope that we're able to break out of the box and take the measures that need to be taken to keep the kids safe. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the only person we have for public input. Visitors.
So first up, we have State of the District Part 2 from Assistant Superintendent for Instruction and Accountability, Matthew T. Francis.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I'll be delivering Part 2 of the State of the District, The Road to Recovery. If you remember Part 1, I discussed the MCAS performance data, the grade level spans, the subject area spans as compared Chicopee Public Schools to the state. We also looked at the average scaled score of different subgroups as compared to the state and other urban districts within that data point as well. Within Part 1, we talked about the different celebrations that we could filter out from that MCAS data of 2022, and I identified 4 areas for improvement. Take you back to the title of this State of the District for this year, which is the Road to Recovery, and just to reiterate, we are projecting a 3 to 5 years to a Road to Recovery, and I was able to highlight some of the grade levels, some of the buildings within our celebrations of Part 1 that are within that 3-year span, ahead of that 3-year span, and other grade levels and subject areas that are going to be closer to that 5-year span of the Road to Recovery. So today's agenda, we're just going to look again at who we are as a district, review those 4 areas for improvements, and then I'll get into the initiatives to address those areas for improvement. So just a quick recap of who we are as a district. This is our enrollment by gender. The one comparison that I made as compared to the state is we are 53% male as compared to the state, which is roughly 51% male. Our enrollment by ethnicity, race and ethnicity. We talked about the comparison of our white population, 47.1, as compared to the state. And when you add up the minority subgroups, we are 53% minority enrollment by race and ethnicity. Also, as additional subgroups, that high needs group as compared to the state, and I identified and clarified for you that high needs is a student that falls within the low income category and one of the other categories as well. That's how a student is then placed into that high needs category. So 3 out of every 4 students in the city of Chicopee fall within that high needs subgroup. Identified 4 areas for improvement at the end of Part 1. Early literacy challenges, the impact of lower writing scores, specifically at the grade 4 level, our middle school and high school math, that learning gap of the basic foundational skills, and we talked about how as the math becomes more complex, those years of COVID, there were gaps that were missed within those upper middle school levels going into the high school. And we also, I highlighted the chronic absentee of the city of Chicopee, Chicopee Public Schools last year as compared to other urban districts. So taking it one area at a time, and I'm not going to go through every point on this, and if there is a question on a point that I don't highlight, please, at the tail end, feel free to ask that at the tail end of this presentation. The first area for improvement was that early literacy challenges, and I'm extremely excited and proud at the efforts and the steps that have been taken specifically towards this one area for improvement. And that goes, and it starts with the expansion of preschool. We are in year 2 of our expansion with preschool. Year 1, so this was last year, we extended the option for all 4-year-olds to have full-day preschool. This past, starting in the fall this year, we expanded 2 preschool offerings, classrooms at Belcher Elementary. We just opened our 2nd classroom recently at Fairview Elementary. We also opened up open spots at Chicopee High and Chicopee Comp, which is typically tuitioned in, but we had open spots, so we opened those up to Chicopee residents as well. We offered a before-school and after-school program at Zatella for parents and caregivers that needed that additional time for their students, and we did this all at 0 cost to all Chicopee residents within the city of Chicopee. This is a financial investment. Currently this year, it is a cost of $3.5 million within our budget that is not costing the parents or caregivers to send their students to Zatella. So I'm extremely proud at the efforts. That goes into the second point that I want to raise is whether or not, yes, Mr. Limbaugh.
The $3.5 million, is that out of the normal budget or is that out of ESSER grants?
That's out of ESSER right now.
Thank you.
That goes into the second point that I want to raise is are we going to continue to expand? So question we are asking already for next year. We have physical space, but is it warranted? Is there a need? So at the end of last school year into the summer, we commissioned the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission at a cost to do a citywide needs assessment within the entire city. So they are looking at the needs assessment of the Chicopee Public Schools, at any private daycares that are out there that families are choosing to go to private, as well as VOC and Head Start, any preschool-aged student within the city confines. Is there a need that we need to further expand? They are continuing to do that needs assessment. They should wrap that up so then we can have the decision of whether or not we continue to expand to other areas of the city, into other buildings as well. Along with that, we have 24 employees that are going through a year-long training it's the LETTERS training. It is a back to basics reading foundational reading program or reading professional development opportunity. As a part of this, we have financially backed participants from VOC, so there are VOC teachers that are partaking in this professional development, and Head Start teachers as well. I thought it was important as we expand and we build on our community relations that we have the financial means to offer these professional developments to our community partners. So some of these 24 individuals, and these are PK and K teachers within Chicopee. In addition, we have financially backed some VOC participants and for some Head Start participants as well. We took an enormous leap this past year, both financially and through a mindset shift with our new ELA curriculum. This was a $1.25 million investment. It is a 6-year investment with that, but it was a complete mind shift and delivery approach that we weren't used to and hadn't done before. This program is completely backed by the science of reading and hones in on providing background knowledge to our students. It is a very big lift for our teachers, our administrators, our paraprofessionals. I'm extremely proud at the efforts that have been put in thus far and the progress that I'm beginning to see within this program. We are now, this year, looking at a preschool curriculum program. Similar to our K-5 ELA program, our preschool program is a little bit antiquated and needs to be updated. So we are currently in the review process for the procurement of a high-quality preschool program for Zatella, Chicopee High, Chicopee Comp, Belcher, Fairview, and any other building that we will expand into. The second area of improvement that I'll go into was our lower writing scores, and there are 2 points that I wanted to hit on this area. One of which was that new program that I talked about briefly already. That is the Amplify CKLA. That is our kindergarten through 5th grade. This program has the writing embedded into it, where our previous program and curriculum that we used, the Wonders program, teachers and buildings had to do a separate writing program that wasn't embedded into the curriculum. This writing is embedded into the curriculum within this program. We've had extensive professional development. Unlike other programs that we have purchased before, we have individual coaching from the publisher in buildings. We have office hours from the publisher so that staff members can contact trainers during the day after school hours if they have questions about the program. So this is something new as well. Admin was trained in the program, which began in August and continues throughout the school year. There will be follow-up within this program. In addition, this fall we started academic academies specifically for ELA, specifically for writing at the elementary level. Any elementary that wanted to run, they were running from August to Christmas vacation. We held to a 12-to-1 ratio, so no more than 12 students per teacher or instructor. They needed to meet 2 times a week, and we financed as many classes as that building wanted. If that building needed 5 classrooms, 6 classrooms, as long as they were within that 12-to-1 ratio, we found the money so that they could do it for their students in need. We will offer a spring coming after, or a late winter and a spring after-school academic academy as well. Whether or not we're going to shift into math, that might be a building-based decision, or whether or not we might continue with ELA within that as well. We have a lot of initiatives going on. I'm not going to hit on them all in regards to our addressing our middle school and high school learning gaps within the area of mathematics. I'm going to highlight some of them. The one that I'm extremely excited about, and I was able to talk to some of the school committee members, was our Open Architects partnership. This is not an architectural firm, as the name might indicate. Open Architects is an extremely impressive data hub that is able to grab data from a variety of sources, from the state data, from our school brains data, from other data points that we have in regards to MCAS performance, access performance, student enrollment, student attendance, student discipline, you name it. We have currently 8 data dashboards is what they call, and it's able to sync about 6 separate data hubs or different data sources and put it into, as Superintendent Morton says, one-stop shopping. This is something that I wish I had the data at the 15 years I was at Bellamy Middle School. I do not now have to go into the state hub and do this filtration and this filtration, then export this data and do this, and then manually have to start working the data. I'm able to open up the dashboard in Open Architects and in 2 clicks have the data that I need in regards to, like I had said, attendance, discipline, student performance. We are currently working on a HR piece to have an HR dashboard as well, a special ed dashboard to make sure that we are SPED compliant. And there is also a nursing dashboard that Supervisor of Nurses Joyce O'Neill has in regards to immunizations, visits, what else is within that dashboard? Everything that you could want within a nurse's dashboard. It is a fabulous partnership that we have started this year, and we will continue the year, because it makes the building's data teams and principals, their jobs that much easier to decipher the data, to then be, to work on the initiatives for our students to improve. Similar to the elementary after-school programs, both middle schools are currently running math after-school programs, holding to a 12-to-1 ratio. They are doing it minimally 2 days a week. They started in October, running through Christmas. We funded them as many teachers and as many groupings that they needed. So if they needed 6, we funded 6 for them. In years past, we've had to have some financial restraints, but this year we do not, so we have not. We are currently, similar to our CKLA ELA adoption of last year, similar to our PK adoption that we are going through this year for curriculum, we are currently looking at a investment for a new high-quality math curriculum for 6 through 12. We are in that process this year. It'll be purchased in the spring and rolled out into fall of 23-24. Recently, a couple months ago, I convinced Superintendent Morton to pilot a program at one of our high schools. This is at Chicopee High. This is for an instructional coach centered around mathematics to get them a little bit more centered, looking to see whether or not the elementary and middle school instructional coach model would benefit. I'm a firm believer that it would benefit at the high school level. We have had that posted for a while. We just haven't had many qualified candidates in order to. So that posting continues to be refreshed so that we can get that in there and take a look to see what kind of positive impact we can have on that. Last year I talked about an introduced paper. That is the 24/7 tutoring, online tutoring that we had for our high school students. We brought it down to all of our 8th grade students as well. So we have 8th grade through 12. At any time, 24/7, they can have a live chat with a content-specific expert in regards to anything that they need assistance with. To date, we have 750 sessions thus far this year, so 750 times students have accessed that, and 200 essays have been submitted. So students can submit an essay, and within 24 hours, they get feedback from a reader on their essay. It doesn't give them do this, do that. They use the Socratic method to try and get the student to improve and answer their own questions. So 750 sessions thus far, 200 essays. We saw a big push at the end or at the springtime where you had a lot of high school seniors uploading college application essays into it too. So it's a fabulous program. We are in the 2nd year of using paper and have committed to continue to extend that. And like I said, we offered it all the way down to 8th grade as well so that they get used to it, so when they go into high school, they can utilize that. I've recently finalized a contract in the specifics of a math consultant. This is the individual who used to be a department head at an area college that is now providing consultation. I contracted with this individual to work with Chicopee High Math Department from when we get back from winter vacation all through the spring. That math consultant is going to be working one-on-one in conjunction with Karen Fave, our content specialist in math, one-on-one with teachers, doing small group coaching as well, and working with Chicopee High administration with that. Finally, I'm sorry, there was one other one I wanted to touch on, is throughout this school year we had a nationally known consultant working in Chicopee High and DuPont in regards to their co-teaching strategies, and that she was just in for her 3rd visit. Actually, it's going on this week, but that is a nationally known consultant, published author, that we acquired this past year to work in those 2 buildings centered around their co-teaching strategies. And finally, in this one, if you remember part 1, I spent a decent amount of time on the chronic absenteeism. And I define that chronic absentee, a student is chronically absent if they are absent 10% of their membership. So today was day 62 of our school year. So if a student has 6 days absent already, they have fallen in and will be categorized as chronically absent. A student that is with us 180 school days, 18 days absence in chronic absence. Couple of things that I want to touch on, and there's some overlap. You'll see open architects in here, and you'll see some other overlap as well. But a couple of ones that I wanted to highlight on here is the Trails Professional Development. This was all staff. So this is a new program. It's the Trails to Wellness program. So in November PD, all staff, paraprofessionals, all Unit A staff, all support staff were trained in the Trails to Wellness program. This is a 20 lesson throughout the year. Recognizing that we started in November, we're only focusing in on 10 lessons this year, but an entire year it's 20 lessons designed to be delivered in the classroom. So that's why all teachers and paraprofessionals were receive this professional development, and it strengthens on the academic learning, which fosters on empathy, self-awareness, and respect. Why we're doing that is, multi-layered approach, but one of which is to foster the culture and climate of the building, belonging of the students, where students have empathy, self-awareness of their own feelings and emotions, and then respect for other people's as well. So we're very excited. This came out of a committee. This was selected by a committee of staff members that looked at it in the spring and over the summer, and they selected the Trails to Wellness program, and we've begun that. In the Superintendent's Morton, his update from last night, he talked about the creation of a parent engagement facilitator. We are firm believers that chronic absentee can't be solved by the school district alone. We need our community partners. We need our partners with our parents and caregivers. One way that we recognize as a district that we need assistance with is through a parent engagement facilitator, along with the increasing of the parent liaisons. Typically, parent liaisons in the past have been delegated to Title I buildings. Not every building is a Title I building. Not every building had a parent liaison, but the parent liaison we are expanding so that every building has at least one. Some buildings we're talking about having 2 parent liaisons. They would work in conjunction with this parent engagement facilitator to continue to encourage and increase the parent and caregiver involvement. We're also working on a job description and the hiring of a translator and interpreter services. That is another thing that we recognize that we lack within the Chicopee Public Schools is access to a translator or interpreter for as many needs as we need throughout the district for a variety of reasons. So I'm excited about that one as well. So we should have both the parent engagement facilitator, the liaisons, and the translator in late winter is our goal. So that concludes part 2 of the Road to Recovery State of the District. And if there are any questions that I can answer, I'd love to entertain them at this time.
Any questions or comments? Sandra?
After-school academics on the initiative to improve the lower writing scores at the elementary level. When you said that you, quote, found money for this, was this ESSER money or was it a special grant that we applied for and received?
Yes, that was use of ESSER funds.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Sure.
Well,
Don,
let
and then
Sandra
Sam.
go first.
Oh,
You done?
I have a couple more, but I can wait until everybody goes
Wait
through.
till she's done, Mayor, if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Sandra, you have the floor.
With regards to the outside math consultant for Chicopee High School, was there any reason why that was not offered to Chicopee Comp as well?
We have one build. Chicopee High School is in turnaround. They have been in turnaround for a couple of years. When you look at one of their One of the areas of concern is the mathematics department and the mathematics scores coming out of there, so I felt it was important to get them immediate help.
Okay, thank you. And then you have some really great programs with regards to the, what is it called? The narratives, the essays, the essay writing. How do we let the students know that that's available, the students and parents?
You're talking the paper tutoring, the 24/7 paper
I'm looking for where
tutoring?
it was on here. Yes.
Yeah, so we have done, so this is year 2 of having this resource available for students. We did, at the beginning of the year, we worked with paper. We have I don't want to even say quarterly, monthly check-ins with them. We have for lack of a better term, a consultant that works for paper, that advises us on different aspects. So we had a media blitz and a marketing, for lack of better terms, in the fall, where we worked with both buildings, actually all 4 of the buildings, because we brought in 8th grade as well. Some buildings chose to make it a assignment or a requirement in certain subject areas to say, for the last 10 minutes, I want you to go into your Clever account, log into your paper, and in a math, maybe you ask one of your math questions off of your homework. So we did a variety of different ways for students to be aware of this resource. It made me very nervous last year when we launched it. We weren't getting a lot of usage, and it's not cheap. But I think it's a worthwhile resource that I wish I had as a student 24/7. We're always reminding, we put posters up into the buildings to make them aware. I would love more usage, from a financial standpoint to get the use of it. But currently, this usage is higher now than where we were last year.
Is that as well supported by ESSER money? Or is that
It
independent?
was last year. I'd have to look. I can get you that answer. We specifically used it last year.
Okay,
That's about $125,000 a year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Sandra. You all set?
Yes, thank you.
Next up, Don Lamont.
Yeah, I have a couple questions for you, Matt. The 12-to-1, you said that you were authorizing as many classes as you needed. How many was that?
It depends on the building. A lot of it depended too on participation, staff participation. We tried to make it as enticing as possible. There were certain grants that we did last year that we couldn't pay at that level that we did last year. But I think we compensated them well, that we enticed enough to make it successful in the buildings that could run it. So some buildings have 3 classrooms, some buildings have 5 classrooms.
And so the question that I have that comes next is, were they in the right buildings? Meaning, was it in a building that was in more need than the other building?
Well, all buildings need something, right?
Right.
All students can improve.
And it's like you said, Chicopee High is a turnaround. Are we concentrating more into whatever school is suffering the most versus whoever wants it?
Well, there's equal offerings, that some things
Because
should be
there's money available.
equally offered. If you're asking my opinion, whether or not some buildings that need more resources, should we give more resources and appropriate more resources, both financially, personnel-wise, and the like, I would say yes. There are certain buildings that need more. Similar to that, there are certain grade levels in certain buildings that need more, and in certain classrooms, or in all classrooms, there's certain students that need more.
So how do we get the help to those students that need more if we don't have the volunteers?
That's a great question.
We need to consider how we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then-
and that's where you try and compensate enough to make it, I don't want to say worth their while, but I will say worth their while. There's a lot of planning that goes into running an after-school group, so you compensate for that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of prep work that goes into that, so you compensate for that. You don't just pay the individual to be there for the hour.
You pay them for the prep to get to that
Correct.
hour. I get it.
Correct. That was part of the plan.
Okay. The math coach that you're putting into Chicopee High, we used to have department heads, and I heard you mention department head, Karen Fay.
Karen, content specialist.
Well, they used to be department heads. Okay. So my question to you is, now that you're bringing math coaches into the high school, do we have a write-up that they're working in that the union will accept?
A job description?
Yes.
We
Or
do
are
have
we
a
gonna
job
get
description.
grieved because there's no position, or it should be a department head? You get my point?
I don't. I'm sorry.
We eliminated positions.
Department heads, correct. Yes.
Now we're
These are
bringing-
not department heads.
I know that.
Yes.
But they're
Instructional coaches.
They're instructional coaches, which was never in the high school before.
Correct.
Are we able to do this legally with our contract?
Well, we have a job description that was
Have we worked
approved.
with the union to make sure that we're not going to end up in trouble with them, like a policing grievance? I'll let you think about that one.
That's where I would turn to my HR person.
Well, we need to make sure we're not going to get a grievance.
Well, and the
because we didn't
posting, and to your question, the posting has been up for quite some time. We haven't been challenged. I'm not saying that
There may not be a problem.
Correct.
That's all I want to do some. I want to be upfront.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. If you got a problem, let's speak now. What do we got to do to solve this problem? As opposed to, you owe us 3 months back pay. That's all.
I think Alvin has an answer for you.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, just the age for Mr. Francis, we talked about this before we did it, and we have the coaches at both the middle schools, and we've had it for a while. And I know we've never had department heads at the middle schools, but it's been in a situation where the coaches, it's approved job description by the union. We talked to the union about the job descriptions. We actually, we made it uniform throughout the district because we had some other positions that were floating that had different names. So we've had conversations with them. They knew they was going to the high school, and there's been no type of
They're good. So
pushback.
we did do the
Yes, we had some
preemptive.
preliminary conversations.
That's that's what I'm
Yes.
asking. Did we sit down and
We had conversations-
with the president and say, this is what we're doing?
So our process now is that we have a job description we create. Sarah and Attorney Bouchard created the form where everybody signs off from HR, the compliance office, assistant superintendent, and then I'm the last person that signs off, but then the union has a representative that looks at the job description also too.
Okay. Thank you.
All set?
Yep.
All set with your questions?
Yes.
Sam Shumsky.
So I just have one question regarding the chronic absenteeism. And I know it's kind of a blanket question, but is there a pattern of why these students are not coming to school?
And that's, I think there are so many variables, right? You still have COVID, right, where a student has to be out for X amount of days. You have, flu is going around. Other than illness, you have coming off a pandemic. You have, we all are in agreement, and I'm not speaking it for everybody, but the social, emotional, the well-being of everybody, right, is at a different state than it was pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. So you're dealing with different variables that are contributing, variables from society, variables, you name it, different variables that are contributing to the chronic absentee during pandemic, post-pandemic, if you even want to say we are post-pandemic. Some will say we're not, some will say we are. That we weren't dealing with pre-pandemic. So our chronic absentee is vastly greater than pre-pandemic, but I think we're at a different landscape. So that's where, in working with the school counselors, the social workers, the teachers, administrators, our attendance individuals, is to try and figure out why that student, Sam, is chronically absent, where Don there's a different reason why he's chronically absent. I mean, the world has changed vastly.
Is it certain schools that you're noticing the students?
There are pockets, and then this is a data point. I use Open Architects daily to watch the chronic absentee. I chart monthly chronic absence based off of building. I report that back. We just did it to our all-admin meeting yesterday. They got the monthly report of chronic absence as compared to last year, where they ended the year, where they are monthly for this year, so that we can see if is there an uptick in chronic absence for a specific. It is then, I think, important for the buildings to drill down even further. Is it specific grade levels? Mm-hmm. Is it if it's specific grade levels, is it specific pockets within that grade level as well that I need to address? But there's a lot of different variables. Globally, you can say this building has a greater percentage of chronic absence. This building has a greater chronic absence, but it's important then to drill down even further to say, is it specific grade levels that's contributing that, certain demographics that are contributing to that, and then how do we address that and get them the support that they need to fix that.
Okay. I just have one more, if it's okay.
You have another question?
Yeah, just one more. It's regarding CTE. How are we scheduling kids that are in CTE to go with these programs if they need extra help? Are we taking them out of time?
No, the extra help is after school.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Tim Wagner is next.
Thank you. So I hear a lot of talk about these after-school programs. You know, we have them all like middle school, preschool to 8 now. Do we have?
I'm sorry, Jay, you wanted to speak too, right?
Yeah. Okay. So have we got any data as to how those programs are helping, if they're helping at all? I mean, you know, we're spending a lot of money on these. I just want to make sure that we're getting our money's worth. Are we seeing an uptick in, you know, the quality of the students' work and grades?
Yeah, we haven't, you know, if you're looking at like benchmark data, it would, we don't have our second benchmark until within a couple weeks. It would be important to see at the building level of whether or not they are seeing day-to-day performances, you know, to improve just through daily work, through informal observation. Oftentimes, it's either the grade level or the classroom teacher that is working with these students. So whether or not they see on a day-to-day finer to see improvement. We haven't had the ability to track based off of our local data in regards to the benchmark as of yet.
Right. Well, is it possible to you know, take a poll of some of the teachers? Are you taking advantage of some of these programs?
Yeah, maybe even as an exit to assess the effectiveness of the fall.
Sure. Thank you.
All set? Doug Gerard.
Thank you. I don't really have a question. I just, you know, it's great to see this whole program come full circle. You know, we see the data coming in, we see where the deficiencies are. And what I love to see is that we're looking at ways to modernize a bit and look at where we need to increase or get a little bit better at. And it's great to see these programs come in. And, you know, it's really going to, there was a couple of, or quite a few spots where we're right on the bubble. And hopefully with, you know, instituting these new type of policies in effect, and, you know, we give the kids what they need, the students what they need to get over that hump and, you know, get better as a district. So this is, it's great to see, you know, where we're lacking. And not only do we look at that, but we're figuring out ways as a district to improve. And that just makes me really happy that we're, you know, we're doing something about it. So great job.
Thank you. And it's important to say that all of these things are sustainable over time. It's not like we're going to put this Band-Aid on for this year, fix it and walk away. You need to put something in that will stick and continue to grow and positively affect over a long period of time.
Thank you. All set, Doug?
Thank you.
Grace Schofield.
Well, thank you very much for all this information, and kind of like a follow-up question with regard to open architect. Like, I was really excited when I had the opportunity to see you pull it up and everything. But could you just repeat a little bit? I know you mentioned how you use the data, like to track chronic absences, but could you repeat a little bit, like what you use the data for? Like,
So it's a daily look, right? So that you have different dashboards that you're going to go into more frequently than others. You know, when the MCAS dashboard was complete, you know, that's not updated. That's updated once and it's done. So you spend a lot of time early on in the school year breaking down the MCAS performance. There's a behavior dashboard that tracks daily referrals and incidents by building, by grade level, and even by student in another one. So that's one I watch frequently to see.
so do you share that information with admin or?
The nice thing about Open Architects is within the Office of Instruction Accountability, there is a staff member within that is a super user. So she can assign at the building level, if a building principal wants a member of their data team to have the MCAS dashboard but not the behavior dashboard, Ms. Pena has that capabilities to say, all right, I'm going to give this dashboard to this person and another group of dashboards to this person. So we have the capabilities at the district level because an individual within the Office of Instruction Accountability is a super user to assign anybody that the principal indicates that they want to have a dashboard to have that dashboard. There are certain ones like the nursing dashboard. There's, I think, 3 people or 4 people in the district that have that one. We're not giving that one away because of the sensitive information that is in that. But at the building level, how I would do it and how most principals do it is their data teams have the access data, the MCAS data. There's another dashboard that takes at the student level. I can look at within one dashboard in one click. I can have by individual student, any student that I select, their attendance, behavior, and all of their testing from the state and from the local on one dashboard for me. So if I am holding an IST meeting, I can then at the data team or the IST team, because the principal has indicated that they want this group of teachers to have access to this dashboard because they're on the IST team, they can then look up that specific student, and they only have their students in their building. They can't have district-wide. It's just per Bowie or Stryber can only have their information. Building principals can see some global information for comparisons, but they can't get individual student information if the student's not in their building.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Grace, are you all set? Jay Doubt, your first question. We're excited.
No pressure.
So I just want to say, as my first meeting, I think it's very exciting to hear about all of these programs and everything that we really have in place to try to address, the shortcomings that the students have. And in particular, seeing that this is starting at a young age, at the elementary school levels, I think is fantastic, right? There's a need for it. There's, and knowing the concerns we have, addressing those concerns from a young age. Are these the initiatives that are offered in the elementary schools? Are they offered in every elementary school?
Correct.
Okay. And how are we, how is it being put out to the students, to the parents? Are parents notified? Is it something that's just kind of advertised?
For
to
example,
students?
like the after-school program.
Mm-hmm.
So the after-school program, depending on the building, they might be targeting a specific grade level. So they might say, based off of their data, I'm going to use, 4th grade writing district-wide was an area for improvement. That might not mean that Stryber Elementary is going to target 4th grade writing because they aren't. Maybe they're going to say, well, my 3rd grade or my K through 3 is going to be more of a concern because I want to deal with that early literacy. I'm going to go after that. So it depends on the building level is what grade level span were they targeting? Were they offering it for all K-5? And not many buildings did because they wanted to hone in on a specific area of concern for their building.
Okay. And then just a follow-up question. So when it comes to all of these initiatives, again, I think there's lots of great things there. And just to kind of get an idea of it, are these programs, are they for the students? I guess my question really is, are these programs for the students who want to take advantage of them, or are these programs for the students that really need it? Do teachers make recommendations for these? Are teachers able to, or someone able to reach out to parents versus just, hey, my kid is exceptional and I want them to continue to be exceptional and taking advantage of the programs?
You're saying specifically for these academic after-school programs?
I mean, yeah, I guess we can go with that.
So in an instance like that, within the fall, you're targeting a student need, right? We never turn away students that, a parent reaches out and says, I want Sarah to participate in the after-school program. We're not going to turn them away as long as we have an instructor in order to do that. There's a point of remediation. Students need remediation, but there's equal students that need enrichment, right? And you have to be able to balance and provide for both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Ron Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Reading through the absenteeism part there, you're talking about the increase in translation and interpreter part, and it got me thinking about a lot of things that recent years that we've had challenges in the school, and I'm sure that you've heard of them. Our demographics, as we all know, has changed so much over the last few years. We've got more and more students that come into our schools where English is not a primary language, and there's lots of languages. I remember earlier in the year we went to Bow School, and if I remember the number, the principal there was telling us they have like 20-something or 20 different languages spoken in that building, and where English isn't even a primary language to these students. So it got me thinking about that and wondering if I didn't see anything here that talks about that. Are we addressing anything like that? Is there anything new programs coming out that you guys are looking into to address that?
In regards to our ELL population?
Yeah.
There's always a refinement of the ELL population. To go to your point in regards to the numbers, we are seeing, our demographics and our numbers are changing. Our ELL population is growing in certain areas. And then one thing that we are changing, and I didn't highlight this, but I appreciate your question because it's exciting as well, because in years past, there were, at the elementary level, certain buildings that did not have ELL programs, even though they had ELL students. Those students, if they wanted service, would have to go to another school building, not their neighborhood building. So we are investing on this year to truly make those neighborhood schools, and if an ELL student, if they need services, is to bring them, and we started it with Stryber Elementary this past year, and we're going to continue to look at, but we invited those ELL students that were if they wanted services, having to go to another building because of ELL teachers being strategically placed throughout the district. As our ELL numbers grew, one, we're paying for buses, right? Because a student's going to go pick up over here and not go to the neighborhood school and go over here. And in addition, you then run out of space in certain buildings because other buildings' ELL populations are being bused there. So we started to look at, well, where if we were to start to separate out and have them go to neighborhood schools, where can they go back? Can we provide the support for them? So we invested within the district in this most recent FY23 budget. We hired and put in positions more ELL teachers to provide services, because our goal is to bring our ELL students that are being outplaced to other buildings back to their neighborhood schools and be serviced in their neighborhood schools. We started with Stryber, and we're going to continue to look at that so that every building has ELL services for every neighborhood school.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I see Sam Shumsky, second time.
So each student is different. Do interventions offer flexibility to try and customize the approach or instruction, or to the actual student, or is it just a standard widespread?
No, it depends. It depends on what intervention you're going to use. Large majority of their interventions and core programs, so even the ELA program that we bought for K-5, has the ability to differentiate for pretty much any learner. An online intervention piece has a assessment period where they're going to test Sam Shumsky, if it's a math intervention, on your math capabilities, and then tailor itself and the intervention for what your deficiencies are. And they're able to do that depending on the intervention. The large majority, if not all of the interventions that we have that capability.
So some students learn better seeing, or some people learn better hearing. Does it accommodate for that as well?
100%.
That's awesome. All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I want to take a moment to thank the Assistant Superintendent, Matt Francis. Your presentation over the past 2 meetings has been very informative, and I think of before COVID, we were talking during COVID just to keep education active, and really the goal here is to close that educational gap, and I don't think this could be named more appropriately than the road to recovery. And I am very proud of our district and the progress we're making. So ideally, I want to say thank you to all those who have been working so hard to make sure that we get back on track. And from what I'm seeing, it feels like we're getting back on track, and the resources are there for us to use those tools to get us there. So I want to thank our district for all their hard work. These things just don't happen. There's a lot of effort and a lot of different, and it's amazing the way we're using technology and having different ways of tracking just individual students, if not groups, and querying them with a couple of clicks, and whether it be from an advancement in education or a behavioral standpoint, and even that case from an absentee standpoint. I know that many go through the social emotional things that we've talked about, and it's nice to see that the resources are available. And I mean, not just financially. I mean, the actual outreach is there. We're getting in contact with the parents. There's facilitators that are working when the teacher may not be able to do that, and trying to get everyone engaged and really keeping education as a priority for our students moving forward. And I'm excited about where we're heading. So thank you for the presentation. And again, very proud of the City of Chicopee School District for the accomplishments we've reached to date. And I'll end with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have an agenda somewhere. Let me find it. Here it is. Visitors.
So you had a good segue. You were talking about technology, and lo and behold, here we have the Director of Instructional Technology, Mr. Nick Dool.
Good evening. This would be embarrassing if I had some technical issues here, so give me a second just to plug in. Thank you for having me. I was asked to prepare a presentation no longer than 2 hours. I've pared it down to 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Excellent.
So,
Worked with Mr. Leonard, I see.
yes, that's right. Thank you for having me. I'd just like to give a brief update on instructional technology, or as we call EdTech, which is short for educational technology. So I just have a small presentation about what it is that I do. During the pandemic, it was a bit of the Wild West of acquiring new technologies, both hardware and software, and one of my biggest priorities was trying to get an inventory of what it is that we're using in the district, which has multiple layers to it. There's a district-wide layer, things that we as a district have endorsed or have purchased. There's a school layer in there, tools that individual principals have decided are prudent for use just at their school. And then there's an individual teacher or classroom layer. These might be tools that teachers have gone out and found for free. Many tools have free options, and then they give you the option to upgrade from there. Or some teachers, dedicated teachers in Chicopee, have gone ahead and just purchased some of these tools using their own money, which is, of course, something that we want to look into as a district so that we can see if that's something that is really something that they've identified as effective and worthwhile. It could be something that we could expand further. So the four main areas that take up my time are evaluating and selecting and also implementing new ed tech tools. Training and support, process improvement, and then finally staying current with what's new out there. So I just want to kind of highlight each of these four areas briefly tonight. And we'll start with the evaluating, selecting, and implementing ed tech tools. What's on the screen here is a snapshot of the database that I've built in meeting with every principal across the district, in engaging educators and staff members across the district in a survey, trying to put together what it is that we're using here in Chicopee. With this information, we're able to build lots of different views for different constituents, I should say. So the main one at the moment is teachers. We have an Chicopee EdTech website that lists all of our tools that we use within the district. There's a few different views. One offers a dashboard view, another offers a card view. We also have pre-filtered views by subject area, so ELA and literacy, math, science, social studies, but also of particular interest to teachers like student engagement, formative assessment, and communication. Recently, we've started a feature for tools. On our feature right now is BlueKit, Classroom Screen, Remind, and Frax Math. But we also have a view for some of our tools that are in pilot so that teachers and the general public are aware of what we're trying out. Maybe we have a free trial on some things and we're testing it out in some of our buildings. But it could also be something that we've gone ahead and paid for a small subset of the school population or the district population for consideration for wider rollout. In this work, I'm working pretty closely with the DESE Office of Ed Tech. There's an Ed Tech Leader Network across Massachusetts that I regularly attend, and we've also applied to be part of the Ed Tech, the DESE Peer Learning Cohort. We're one of 10 districts across the state that are part of this cohort, and it's been very helpful to put some structure behind evaluating, selecting, and implementing ed tech tools. Pretty soon, actually a posting is up now, we're looking for educators in the district to join an ed tech team. It shouldn't just be me making decisions about what we use in our district, it should be educators, community members, students. So that is in early stages. We'll be selecting that group pretty soon. In the training and support area, I work pretty closely with Andrew Vernon from the telecom department and many telecom techs. Assistant Superintendent Francis mentioned open architects, and I think he did an excellent job of explaining what that does. I've led with Christina Pina some training sessions for administrators and instructional coaches in the district. And as things pop up, access issues or new dashboards that team is developing, part of the group of people that is helping to develop those new tools. We're also implementing something called IRAD. IRAD is clickable tutorials. So you can come up with a set of written directions for something, and that's great, but it's so much better if somebody can be in the driver's seat actually going through the motions that they would be doing as they were using a website or some sort of online tool. So that's what IRAD helps us do. Upcoming Google Workspace training, and I offer lots of support with Google Workspace apps, as well as SchoolBrains. SmartPass is a digital hall pass system that we're implementing in the middle schools. And so I've been pretty central in helping to support that, uploading student photos and things like that. It's pretty neat. Students at DuPont or Bellamy, if they're looking to use the bathroom pass, they will first pull out their Chromebook and request a pass electronically. And the administration and teachers have the ability to control how many students are out of the classrooms at any given time. I don't want to divulge too many of the secrets about how to keep certain students separate, but it has been something that DuPont and Bellamy staff have been very happy with. As I've seen it in action, I think some of our students might be a little unhappy with it, but it's probably because it's keeping them in class instead of going to the bathroom so many times throughout the day. So SmartPass is an interesting tool. In the process improvement area, one of the things that I'm leading the charge on is something called Droplet, which allows us to take paper PDF forms and turn them into digital forms and then build an approval workflow process on the back end. So we have one form that's currently rolled out, another form that's in development, and the queue of forms as people start to use this is continuing to grow over time. You may have seen in your CPSG accounts a district update digital newsletter that's a monthly update for all Chicopee Public Schools employees so that they're aware of some of our new initiatives. They hear from lots of different departments across the district, and that's something that we've just published our second, so we'll continue to do that on a monthly basis so that CPS employees are in the know. In addition, this is a little bit on pause at the moment, but we have started to look at a new potential for a new district website, which could bring in the possibility of an app for parents and for community members. That's something that is in very early stages, so more information about that later on. This year, we've also rolled out Remind as a district-wide messaging platform. This rosters with class lists, so teachers automatically, they don't have to encourage students and parents to sign up. The students and parents are automatically signed up using our SchoolBrains data. Of course, parents have the ability to opt out of certain notifications, but this allows classroom teachers to keep in touch with their students and their parents. It also allows us as a district to keep in touch with all of our students, parents, and staff members. Rolling out soon is our new district logo as well. That's a little preview there. And then finally, in the staying current area, a few of us are attending an upcoming conference. That's the Future of Education Technology Conference. We've been attending this conference for many years and have always come back energized and rejuvenated with new ideas from other districts out there, so I'm excited for that. I keep in touch with ed tech directors in the region, and I'm still building those relationships with other area school districts. And I want to finish before moving to questions with showing you a couple pictures of our anatomage table, which is over at Chicopee High. An anatomage table is essentially a giant iPad. The left side of the screen here is the anatomage table in kind of a laid down configuration. This allows us to pull up really high quality images of cadavers, of animals, of certain organ systems. You can use your fingers to zoom in. You can peel away layers and highlight certain areas. Teachers just recently had a professional development training session on it. But we can also stand it up like you see in the right picture. The right picture is a little terrifying, so I wouldn't look at it for any longer than you have to. It's just a brain with eyes. But it is going to be a tool at Chicopee High School that can be really engaging for its anatomy, health science academy, biology, and even forensics classes. So we're excited to get that rolling into classrooms across Chicopee High. I think that's about the 2-hour mark. But if you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Duell, thank you for the presentation. I'm happy to see that you've moved up a level on the administrative organization chart. You were always very helpful to me when I was a student at Chicopee Comprehensive.
Thank you.
I still have the hat. I know that no new system is without its hiccups. So what are the challenges that you've faced along the way in rolling out your ed tech initiative, and what are some of the things you're doing to address them?
Sure. Ed tech is a constant shifting landscape. And so one of the reasons why we're convening a group of educators to help kind of monitor this endeavor is to keep a pulse. You know, that the dashboard or the database view I showed you is a snapshot in time. 2 weeks out, that could even be outdated as new tools are brought in by individual teachers or individual principals, and some kind of phase out. So I think that's going to kind of be the issue that we will want to tackle as a district, is how do we keep a pulse? I think another issue to be aware of is the fact that initiative overload is a real thing. And so it's easy to sometimes run to the next shiny thing, but sometimes it helps to pause and ask why we might want to implement a new tool. Are there existing tools that we're using that could accomplish what we're looking for? And technology is not always the answer. And I'm the tech nerd, and I said that, so there. Technology doesn't solve all of the problems, but in our classrooms, it can solve some of them. So I think that one of the things that our teacher group will be looking at is offering concrete examples for teachers so that they understand where it might be really effective to implement the use of some sort of technology, and where it might be just as effective to keep doing what they were doing in that, little activity, as an example there. So those are kind of the things that are top of mind.
Thank you. As you mentioned, it might not be a bad idea to get a committee set up so that we, like you said, it's an ever-changing landscape. So what's here today could be gone tomorrow, and vice versa. But it's very important, in my opinion, that we hear from. This is only as good as, and you seem very smart at how you're doing all this, and we appreciate everything you're doing. But the more we get involved in this program with the teachers and the staff, and it could be, the sky's the limit with this program. It's just such a helpful tool, and it's great to see that we're modernizing into something as far as, keeping students, in the classrooms and only having a limited number of them in the hallways, using the restrooms at one time. I mean, these things are just fantastic, and it's great that the viewing audience and everybody watching realizes that, the district's serious about making improvements constantly to update with the times. So this is a great presentation, and I'm hopefully we can just, keep it going and get more people involved, and maybe have a little committee set up so that you can, hear from them as well, and then institute, if you feel the need or, to do so. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next up, we have Don Lamoth.
Yes, this position that you're in now was created because there was some conflict between the schools and the city side software. How are you working with Mr. Vernon on this? Do you meet with him on a regular basis?
I do. Yeah, we're in nearly constant email and phone communication. We meet every other week at minimum at directors' meetings. I was just in his office for a while today. So constant open line of communication.
That's good.
Yep.
And the other thing, you said that you have teachers coming in with software that they're buying themselves. That concerns me a bit, because one of the things that Mr. Vernon was worried about was everybody putting software on the server. So how does that work? Do they come to you with it, or they just put it on and you find it later?
I think you just described something that ed tech leaders across the state and maybe across the country grapple with all the time, is that fine high wire act of compliance with district policies, but also making sure we're not stifling innovation for our teachers. It's tough. And so I think that that's going to be some of the work that this group that we're putting together is going to figure out if there is a tool that a teacher would like us to vet so that we are aware. Student data privacy agreements are in place for any of the tools that we have under contract. But I think it's important to build in a process so that we're not stifling innovation from our teaching workforce, but we are also making sure that any tools that are used are within our district policies.
I don't disagree with that, and I think that somewhere along the line, when you put this team together, there needs to be a process put in place where if I want to bring this tool in, that I filter it to the right place to make sure it's not going to cause a problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And honestly, they shouldn't be paid for it themselves. It should be coming out of our budgets.
You know, as I've worked with some vendors, a lot of vendors will retroactively reimburse teachers that have paid out of pocket for certain things if our district decides to purchase it. It's hard to really get a gauge for how many tools and how many teachers have actually gone and paid for certain things. In a lot of cases, I don't want to paint the picture that teachers in droves are running out and spending their own money on tools, but a lot of the tools that teachers are using have free versions. And so they're able to kind of get a taste of what they might want before we as a district can explore a wider rollout.
I'm still worried about the corruption factor.
So if I may, Don, Nick, one thing I would like to just caveat on what you said, I'm sure that no teacher has the ability to just upload software.
No.
That needs
These are
admin
web-based,
approval,
yeah,
just for
web-based
clarity.
applications.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
That's what I was worried about.
I think that's what you were
That's
trying to
exactly
get
what I was worried about. Thank
Thank
you.
you for that.
at. Yes, I know that you want to speak, Grace. Next up is Sam Shumsky. I have an order. I apologize.
Okay, I was just going to, because it was kind of.
Oh, you want a caveat on that?
It's related
Go
to.
ahead.
okay.
Go ahead, Grace.
So, just to your point, I'm one of those teachers that did exactly this, where many years ago, I found, before Mystery Science was adopted by the district, I went to my principal, I said, hey, I'm going to buy this, I bought it, and then he reimbursed it, then we shared it with teachers, and then much to the delight, the district bought it, and it was just, so it's really exciting to see this resource that, because I spent hours and hours looking for, tools to utilize in the classroom in a creative way, and it's just great to have this resource. So I'm really excited for everything that you're doing. Thanks.
I can also mention that some of our work with this EdTech tool inventory will hopefully prevent teachers from finding new tools that, I shouldn't say prevent, but will offer some of the resources that we have available. And so if they're looking for Mystery Science, they're looking for a science tool, they can go to our website, type in science, and see what we already have endorsed or approved. So that's another good reason why it's good to keep this finger on the pulse of what's going on, and then building in a process where teachers can request new tools be procured.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
kind
is
of like
really
a
important.
subscription too. Like you buy the subscription for the year. So
Okay.
Thank you. All set, Grace?
thanks.
Sam Shumsky, you have the floor.
So I have about 2 questions. So one is, so technology is evolutionary, it's always changing. How outdated do you find Chicopee to be compared to other districts? We talk about Chicopee being a pioneer and being the beacon and like the hub of education. How outdated is Chicopee compared to those districts that are around us?
It's hard to compare because I don't know, from an outside perspective, it's hard to get a really good feel for what other districts or other cities have. What I can speak to is the fact that this position exists here in Chicopee, which is a huge it should be a huge indication of where Chicopee has decided their priorities are in the area of ed tech. I have been in this position for about 4 months now, and in rolling out some of the things that we're working on, any implementation has its bumps, but Chicopee has been an incredible district. I've taught in Chicopee, I've been an administrator in Chicopee, so I feel like I know Chicopee pretty well. But the fact that, as I mentioned, the fact that this position exists is kind of indication enough that our city is really wanting to be progressive with some of these instructional technology initiatives.
Okay. And my next question is, do you find that students are more engaged in these activities, like these apps and these dashboards? Do you find that it is something that students are interested in?
Absolutely. I mean, the students these days are digital natives for sure. I do think that there's a lot of instruction that our teachers give on a daily basis about how to use some tools that we think they might know how to use, you know, word processing tools and spreadsheets and things like that, presentations. Kids these days are really slick on their phones, for sure, but I think it's important that we have them in front of Chromebooks so that they understand that these are good learning tools, but they're also good productivity tools that hopefully they can develop those skills before they graduate.
Are we having trouble training the teachers in order to then teach the students at all?
No, but that's an ongoing endeavor as well.
Okay.
You know, as tools update and they change and new tools phase in and phase out, it's something that we'll want to keep our eye on, making sure that the training, that building our capacity for maintaining and supporting ed tech tools in the district is matching what's out there currently.
Sweet. All right, that.
Oh, next up is Sandra.
I didn't really have a question, but just a comment on the anonymage table. That looks like a fantastic tool to have in the classroom and really, I'm sure, stimulates the education of the students with the actual ability to watch the nervous system and the vascular system and the muscle system, and really probably really enhances any dissection that they're doing. So that's fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that tool alone is a good example of where technology can help solve some sort of equity issues. You know, we may not have access to purchasing a full cadaver. Personally, I wouldn't want to touch a full cadaver
I don't
in
even,
real life, but maybe if it's an electronic form, it might be something that opens students' minds to potential career paths.
fantastic. I don't
agree
think they
with you.
have cadavers in the lower educational system, but
I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that.
but this is really great. Thank you for
No, the
showing us
virtual
that.
dissection of a frog versus the one I did in
Well,
in
it
eighth
supplements
grade.
that. It
Exactly.
supplements it. There's
Thank
the
you.
hands-on and the
With the formaldehyde and the frog that was
Yes.
preserved. It's a little different than the virtual frog, so
Absolutely.
cats and pigs.
great use of technology. Any other questions or comments for Nick? Nick, thank you for that presentation. Really
you for having me.
informative. An agenda, approval of minutes, 22-12-1.
Move that the minutes of the regular meeting of the school committee held on November 16, 2022 be approved.
Don, motion.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? We have everyone in person, so I can say, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Reports, 22-12-2.
Report on personnel action taken.
The report,
There are no retirements.
no retirements. Don, you have a
Yeah,
comment?
I noticed in I won't name the person, but I noticed in here that we've had someone that left us that came back.
Yes. It does happen. So last time it was mentioned that we had people leaving, but we have sometimes people leave and they do come back.
Grass wasn't greener.
I knew you were going to say that. Well said. Any other comments?
Just that we only had one person who left after 1 month, so this was refreshing to see.
And to your point, we are looking at their exit interviews and trying to see what some of their comments are to try to see if we can put some better things in place to address whatever those comments may be, why they left in such a short period of time. So there have been interesting to look at those exit interviews.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? New business, 22-12-3.
I'm sorry. Move that the bills warrant S111822 totaling $1,390,336.13 be approved.
Grace, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Sam, could you officially read the warrants into the record?
Yes. So for athletics, the total spent was $7,590.
Sam, if I may, just for clarity, there's 3 warrants, and Sam, you're combining them together.
Yes, so I'll be combining them in total, and we will act upon them individually.
Thank you.
So for athletics, the total was $7,590. For food services, it was $229,864. For general expenses, the total was $179,593. For grants, the total was $214,087. Transportation was $1,032,137. For maintenance, it was $88,000. For special education, the total was $166,980. Reimbursements, the total was $126. For student activities, $1,229. Telecom, $1,841. Utilities, $221,560. Sales tax, $1,033. The total of all the warrants was $2,144,039.
So like Sam had mentioned, we'll be voting on the first warrant. That's S111822, totaling $1,390,336.13. Sarah, could I have a roll call?
Mrs. Perrette,
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield,
Yes.
Mr. Shumsky,
Yes.
Mr. Lamothe,
Yes.
Mr. Gerard,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor View,
Yes.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Doubt,
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries. 22-12-4.
Move that the bills warrant S112522, totaling $529,497.74 be approved.
Sam, can I get a motion?
Yeah. Motion to approve?
Sam has already read the warrants. Any questions or comments? We'll take a roll call.
Mrs. Perrette,
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield,
Yes.
Mr. Shumsky,
Yes.
Mr. Lamothe,
Yes.
Mr. Gerard,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor View,
Yes.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Doubt,
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries. 22-12-5.
Move that the bills warrant S120222, totaling $224,205.39 be approved.
Doug, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Sarah, take a roll call.
Mrs. Perrette,
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield,
Yes.
Mr. Shumsky,
Yes.
Mr. Lamothe,
Yes.
Mr. Gerard,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor View,
Yes.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Doubt,
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries. 22-12-6.
Move that the 2023-2024 school calendar be approved.
Motion to
Sandra?
approve.
Motion to approve. Any discussion on the new calendar for the 23-24 school year? All in favor of approval? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 22-12-7.
Move that any member of the school committee wishing to attend the 2023 National Association of Federal Education Program Administrators, NAFEPA, Conference March 27th through March 29th, 2023, be authorized to do so.
So Tim, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion has been approved. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 22-12-8.
After action report requested by a school committee member, Ms. Perrette.
Sandra?
I was just looking for an update. There was correspondence that there was a meeting. There was going to be a meeting between interim superintendent Alvin Morton, the police chief, and other administrators, and I was just asking for an update on that.
So last Wednesday, we did have a meeting. The people you named, it was myself, the chief of police, the fire department chief. It was, the mayor was there, his chief of staff, Sean Mack, an athletic director, the building principals from Chicopee High School, Ms. Cruiser, from Chicopee Comp, Andrew Lamothe, Principal Lamothe, and from Chicopee Academy, Principal John Leonard, along with the SROs, Officer Hammond, Officer Montanez, and Officer Zura were all there. So we met to talk about what type of things we were looking to do. So in generally speaking, for winter athletics, some of the same things we've currently been doing, but most we're going to just increase more people at the games, more security at the games, and then also will be more game personnel. And I think one of the biggest things or biggest changes that, and we'll put more information out before our first home game to let parents know what type of changes are forthcoming, but we're looking to go to an electronic ticket system, which that allows us to have an idea of how many people will be in attendance at our games. So therefore, we can put other safety measures that I don't feel this is the appropriate place to talk about in the public forum that we'll be putting in place for parents and students and outside visitors and public people to attend our events.
So the electronic ticket system it will be in place? Is that what you're saying?
We're just waiting for something from the City Hall and then in the Treasurer's office to make sure we get something go through to put that in place.
So then that pretty much would limit, or you'd have a window of ticket availability or purchase availability?
I mean, you would have it online where you can do it, but I think for security purposes, it helps us to identify who and how many people will be at a game. So there will be no more cash, actually handed out, which is probably good for us. No loss of cash, no missing cash or anything from that perspective, and it help us keep track of everybody that will be coming to the game and the numbers we'll have.
So it's a PayPal or?
It's something at PayPal. It can be debit card, credit card, gift card, whatever way, but you can pay it that way.
Okay.
Cash app, whatever it may be.
Okay. And I know that according to the news, there was, I guess, someone in attendance had a gun. So is there any, I don't know, metal detection or any other?
There's a possibility that, like I said, I want to go into specifics about all the security measures we will put in place, but we'll notify parents. But yes, we're looking to ramp up some specific measures that we already currently have. We've previously used wands at events before, so wands will be on the table from that particular piece, and there'll possibly be more security measures that will be in place for people. It'll be a change in some of the things we're doing, but we're going more on the proactive end of things to get ahead of things to make sure that people, our students from other schools, the general public can feel safe and secure coming into any type of our events or extracurricular activities.
Thank you, because with, I guess, basketball season coming up and hockey season, it's more of a confined area than being outdoors for a football game.
Correct, and we are also adding more personnel to our hockey and wrestling also, too.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, just quickly, I think Alvin covered the gist of what was happened at the roundtable, and I looked at it as mayor and chairman of the school committee, that it's even actually bigger, a more of a comprehensive approach of having all of these, say, experts available at a roundtable to take that opportunity to even take into consideration other city events and not just sporting events, and how we're going to keep this community safe. So I think a lot of information that we shared amongst the group was very beneficial, and the considerations that are on the table and things that we will be implementing will certainly help to make sure we're keeping our fan base safe, our student athletes safe, and anyone who attends any game or extracurricular function here in the city of Chicopee, that feeling of safety will be paramount in making sure that we're doing everything in our power to keep them safe. So
Thank you.
I just wanted to share that with you as well. Doug, you had a question?
Yeah, I just had a question for Mr. Morton. So if we had this electronic ticket system and let's say it looked like, I mean, it's sad that we have to, put something like this in place, but it is for safety. And so you're saying that, like, if there was a bunch of tickets sold, we could actually put on more officers for that game if you felt the need be?
Correct. So we could identify, we can have a number, because you never know how many people are going to show up without a ticket system. If it's pay as you go at the door, this system allows us to get an idea. We've previously used it for graduation to get an idea how many people have shown up for graduation for Chicopee High and Chicopee Comp.
Yeah.
And this helps us put more security measures in place if necessary.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions about the discussion topic? Sure, Tim Wagner.
So to that extent, if we're going to be putting more police officers potentially at sporting events, if they're bigger events, what sort of an expense would that be to the city in terms of overtime for officers? And are we going to be having to strip officers from other assignments to put them on this game, or how is that going to work?
We currently go through Jobs for Blue, so that could be Chicopee officers, it could be Springfield officers, community officers, so it doesn't take away from the already stretched CPT, Chicopee Police Department as we speak right now.
Very good.
It's a great question, Tim. I can tell you we're working very hard to hire more police officers here in the city of Chicopee. We are actually making an announcement very soon about 9 new hires. So just wanted to let you know that as well. Don, you had a question? Don Lamothe.
I was at that game when the fight broke out, and the police did an excellent job. They were on top of the individuals within seconds or minutes. And it's not that we didn't have enough police officers. There was 4 police officers there. There was plenty of police officers. The problem was there was a gun there. That's the big issue. A gun got into the grounds. And when you start thinking about it with all the rest of the type of school shootings you have, that's a scary thought. And we were asked to be proactive. We're being proactive now. We've had our eyes opened a little bit, and we're going to do what we have to do to keep them safe. But you could put 100 officers there. Unless you wand for the gun, you could still have that problem. So there are things that they have to put in place that it's going to cost some hard feelings at some point, but it's what it is. When I was at UMass, we used to have security force come in, and they'd funnel you through some tables, and you'd have to empty your pockets into a little bucket to show what you had, and they would wand you, and then you go in. So we may end up somewhere down the road doing exactly that. But now you get into who's going to do it. You're saying police officers. It doesn't have to be a police officer. You could hire outside security people to do it. It's a matter of, it's going to be a cost. We're going to have to decide how much we can afford to spend for that. Quite honestly, if it becomes cost prohibitive, we may have to close our games to fans at some point. And that's something we don't want to do. So I'm sure we'll take a good hard look at it.
But as of right now, the way we're utilizing our police officers is not for any type of searches or anything to that perspective. There's more of a presence if something does transpire.
No, I know that they
Oh,
weren't
yeah.
searching.
Yeah, but right now,
I'm not blaming the police here.
correct. No, what I'm saying to you is the people that come through, we have gang personnel. A lot of the things you're talking about, those are their jobs that they have, a site manager, ticket taker, crowd support. They will continue to do those things, and we're making sure they get the training and the PD that they need in order to make sure we step up our measures and make sure we're on the proactive end. The police are there just in case something does happen and transpire, then they are ready there and already in the presence of the situation.
Thank you.
Professional development is key, Don, and not just for a police officer, but also the support staff that'll be helping us at the games to maintain a safe viewing audience for the crowds that come to enjoy the games here in the city of Chicopee. Any other questions? Sandra?
Do we limit, what people are taking into the game in terms of the size of a pocketbook or a knapsack? Because I know when you go to some outside games, you can't bring in a bag beyond a small
So we're looking
measurement.
into all those things and taking into consideration. We just want to make sure that we're, being equitable across the board, not targeting certain groups. And also, you got to make sure you have, you take consideration. You have student athletes that are already there practicing for something else or a previous game. They have backpacks where there's
Right.
homework in there. So we're looking at everything to make sure that we're able to address. We can't plan for every possible thing that's going to transpire, but we're just trying to make sure from previous history and looking at previous situations that we can actually put things in place to counter, but also make sure that we don't hinder or harm somebody for the purposes of legitimate purposes of having a bag or something or a backpack. So those things are on the table we're looking at also
Okay.
too.
And I think it's really important to mention that, maybe, and I won't downplay a freshman basketball game versus a high-profile playoff game, and that's really what the message is here. They're going to be treated probably a little bit different when you see the fan base is coming for a rivalry game or a playoff game where everything's on the line, and we're expecting a full house or a full complement of fans. It'll be addressed a lot differently than. Again, I don't want to belittle any other sport or any other activity that we do, but the fan base may be a little different for a swim meet. So it depends on which particular sport you're talking about, and I think all those things will be taken into consideration. I was very happy with the discussions that were held in the roundtable, and really the expertise level that Chicopee has is a blessing. So I just wanted to share those thoughts with you as well.
Yeah, it is, and I guess you can't always assume that just because something is maybe a low profile, that nothing can nothing may happen, but something can always happen. So, as you
So-
said, you're going to treat everything pretty much the same.
Right, there'll be
Yeah.
protocol across the board, but for, again, not to get into specifics about what is happening, I know that Alvin's already shared a lot of that. There will be, I'll say, enhanced police presence, for example, or site support staff at games that are going to bring in thousands of people versus 30. Obviously, it's a different venue, if that makes sense. I hope that helps.
But to answer your question, to go further with the mayor saying too, and then sort of your question that if we're talking boys basketball versus girls basketball, there may be more fans, particularly at boys. We're going to have the same security measures in place for both boys and girls games.
That's what I meant, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I will say this because I feel the need to now, and I'm sorry, but two people fighting at a football game is not going to ruin a rivalry that dates back to 1964. I want our alumni base, our homecoming game between Chicopee High and Chicopee Comp to be a safe environment for not just the fans, but the family members, the players, and everyone else who's there in attendance on Thanksgiving morning. We're not going to let two individuals, a city of 55,000 people, ruin that for us. And it is a big to-do when you have a rivalry, something special, like I said, the sword game, that schedules don't matter. Two teams go on the field and they play. They put their hearts out there, and frankly, the fan base is there to support them, and we want to make sure that those fans who are in attendance, and like I said, everyone else who's there, is feeling safe, and that's the goal, and we're going to work very hard to achieve that goal. So I just wanted to share that as well because I felt the need to. Any other comments about the after-action report? Thank you. New business to my left.
I have some. So I would like to first move that we review the discipline policy in subcommittee.
Can you speak a little louder? I'm
Okay,
sorry.
sorry. I would like to move that we review the discipline policy in our policy subcommittee.
Okay.
And I would also like to ask for an executive summary in regards to our year-to-date spending at each school committee meeting. So if we could have like a balance of our ESSER spending, our budget, our grants, etc., stuff like that.
On that,
You want a budget summary for ESSER funds, grants?
is that doable, Alvin, for every meeting, or should it be
Or just
more of
once
a monthly?
month. Yeah, once a month.
That's probably better,
Yep.
once a month. I mean, ESSER is grants, so there'll be all the grants.
Okay. Any other new business to my left? To the right, Sandra?
Just a question, if we should refer this to a subcommittee. I'm looking for Mr. Alvin Morton sent us an email, I think at 1 o'clock in the morning today, about different positions that you were looking for and job descriptions. Should we refer that to the finance subcommittee regarding the additional positions, or?
I believe that would be taken up in policy and HR.
Okay.
We can take it up there.
But the job descriptions will come, they'll come through that process.
Okay.
They'll come to school committee for approval.
And the funding?
Huh?
Do we need to talk about the funding and finance?
I mean, we were asking, when that, pretty much the update, we're asking to access prior year funds. We know we have prior year funds from the actual budget meeting, from the city that let us know, well, we knew how much money we had anyway, but from prior year funds, we're looking to access, which we have to get permission from school committee.
So should we discuss that in the policy
I think you'll
a
be seeing
budget-
it in the policy subcommittee.
Okay.
You'll be seeing that come in as policy. That will be sent to subcommittee. Correct me if I'm wrong.
All right. Just didn't
Alvin,
want.
that's what you're suggesting, right?
Well,
That was informative, the email.
Correct.
And now you'll follow the process.
Correct. We'll bring the job descriptions to school committee, but I guess the mechanism, and I'm not for sure the correct mechanism for the prior year funds. We're
Right,
asking, go ahead.
So the policy subcommittee can look at job descriptions, or they can come to the full committee. Either one of those is appropriate. The prior year funds are already in the budget.
Correct.
I think Mr. Marecki typically makes a presentation to the committee about the use of the funds. And that also could come through finance or to the full committee. The only, thing to think about, I think, just procedurally is if you go to the subcommittees, that's going to, add some time to the rollout of something like that, getting a group together, convening a meeting, et cetera. So I think those are the considerations.
And I think the thing to add to what Attorney Bashar was saying is the money's in the budget, and the reason we're coming is because those positions were not in the budget, but there is a need for them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All set?
Just one more.
One more. Go ahead.
Under
New business.
Superintendent Morton mentioned that he was looking at trends for the people exiting the system. Could we have the formal report on that regarding what the trends are for maybe the past 5 years?
I'll see if we can go that far back, but we'll look at the trends and some of the comments of people that left the district.
Do you think the first meeting in February is enough time?
That should work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business to my right? So I'd be remiss, I forgot to do this at the beginning of the meeting, but I want to share that our 2022 Winter Concert Series right here in our public schools, Chicopee High School will be hosting their winter concert December 8th at 7 p.m., so that's actually tomorrow. DuPont Middle School will be hosting their winter concert for the 2022 season December 15th at 6 p.m. at DuPont Middle School. Chicopee Comprehensive High School will be hosting their winter concert on the same day, December 15th at 6:30 at Chicopee Comp. And Bellamy Middle School will be hosting their winter concert December 20th, 6 p.m., and obviously at Bellamy Middle School Auditorium. So I thought it'd be appropriate to take a moment to let everyone know, especially our viewing audience, if you made it through the meeting, please join us at these concert series. I know our kids would look forward to attendance from not just their family and friends, but the general public. So thank you. Executive session. Don.
Move that the school committee adjourn into executive session to approve executive session minutes, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiation with non-union personnel, and to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for litigation, and we will not return to the regular order of business.
So there's a motion on the floor to head into executive session, and again, for our viewing audience, we will not be returning to a regular session after the executive session. So could I take a roll call to head into executive session?
Mrs. Perrette?
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes.
Mr. Shumsky?
Yes.
Mr. Lamoth?
Yes?
Mr. Gerard?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor View?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Doubt?
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Record.
Take a minute before we start.